G'day, Greg Clark from the Centre for Public Christianity. Well, for those of us who read the Bible, the title of Tim Winton's new novel caused us to, well, draw breath. It's called Breath, and that immediately sets off a range of thoughts in my brain. In the Hebrew Bible and in the records of early Christianity in the New Testament, the word breath is a loaded one. It often means the same thing as spirit or life force or the eternal. In the Bible's account of God forming humanity, we read that God made a man from the dust and breathed into his nostrils, a wonderful image of bringing matter to life. We are dust that breathes, according to the book of Genesis. And Jesus talks about God's Spirit moving through the world like wind, breathed out by God, rushing wherever it will. Well, with these deep spiritual thoughts in mind, I opened Tim Winton's new novel to find out that it's actually about surfing. Like much of his writing, it's set on the Western Australian coast, in fictional towns that many Australians recognise, almost empty places, pockets of struggling human beings in a vast and frightening but quite beautiful landscape. A man called Bruce Pike, Pikelet when he was young, is looking back on life from the perspective of an ageing paramedic who has just witnessed a senseless hanging of a young teenager killed in an act of autoerotic asphyxiation. Well, for the first half, this novel is a wonderful recapturing of the excitement and invincibility of youth. Pikelet befriends one of the wild kids of the town, Looney, and together they roam free across an endless summer. They meet an enigmatic older surfer, Bill Sanderson, who happens to be a former great, and his wife, Eva, a one-time ski champion. Sando starts to show them things they'd only dreamt of, always pushing them to the next level of risk and reward. Now, I'm not a surfer, but the descriptions of what it's like to take on a wave and ride it and feel that godlike sense of victory over nature are really enthralling. This is virtuoso writing by Winton. However, there is a mounting sense of anxiety and introspection in the novel as it moves towards the revelations of its second half. Without totally giving the story away, Pikelet is about to discover another side of risk, a more personal and damaging aspect of life's dangers than he has found amidst the waves. Crime and tragedy and death and the male sense of failure intermingled with sex are never far away for Tim Winton. The key characters in this novel are all struggling for breath. Pikelet is seeking his adult self out of the uncertainties, crushes and catastrophes of adolescence. Sando is still looking for the rush he used to get, the elevation that will sustain him, and he's willing to risk the safety of others to get it. But the surprise focus of the novel is on the story of Eva. She wrecked her knee skiing and she wrestles to keep the attention of her husband. And this attention, for no strong reason, is slowly taken up by Pikelet himself. And it's their relationship that provides the most shocking and difficult parts of this quite brutal novel. As a man looks back on his life, there's a whole series of highs and lows, of delights and regrets, and he realises he's fighting for air. He's fighting to keep the spirit of those highs, sometimes doing stupid things to stay there. And he's fighting against the forces that threaten to drown him in his sense that he isn't good enough, that he's failed, that the wave is going to defeat him. What he wants is some useless beauty, a term that recurs in the novel and is famously used in an Elvis Costello song. He's after some pure breath in his nostrils, lifting his spirit and escaping from the mud and the tangle of the weeds. Well, Tim Winton's often described as a Christian writer, but you'll struggle to find the preacher here. If there is a Christian angle on Tim Winton's Breath, it might be that we can do all sorts of things in our lives to strangle ourselves, to cut off our life force. Late in the novel, while Pike is in hospital, a fellow sufferer tells him that he is a captive of evil. And Pike quips back, "No, I'm a voluntary patient." We do it to ourselves. We hurt ourselves. We hurt others in the struggle to keep in touch with our spirits. Tim Winton's written a story that keeps all the hurt on the page, but also celebrates moments of epiphany, of useless beauty, the kind of thing that gets a surfer out of bed at dawn. I can't help thinking that this is not a redemptive novel, that it is more in line with his earlier work, The Riders, in its dwelling on human loss and pain. But those things are well worth dwelling on as we search around for where the redemption might come from.